I'm Gayland Kitch. I am WX5MOR, and some of you also know me as the Director of Emergency Management for the City of Moore. And I'm going to visit with you just a little bit, show you pictures of our brand new tool. That's T-O-O-L, not T-O-Y. Our new tool that we have at the City of Moore, which is a new mobile command center. And you can see a picture of it on the screen, and you no doubt saw it out front when you drove in. It is a great big mobile command vehicle. It replaced a 1980 model Chevrolet step van that had about as much room in it, about as this desk. About enough room for two people to work, assuming they weren't great big. And unfortunately, at the time, one of my fire commanders was a big boy, and if Jack was in it, that was pretty much all that was in it, was Jack. And the vehicle was surplus. We were the third owner of it. We got it from State Surplus, who got it from FEMA, who used it as a command post or communications vehicle, and they got it from the Air Force. So the vehicle was 39 years old, and we decommissioned it. The sad part of it is that as soon as we posted something about, the last ride of the old war wagon, I had another emergency manager, actually several emergency managers in the state going, what are you doing with it? Can we have it? So our 39-year-old vehicle went to Tahlequah. Good vehicle, and they'll do well outfitting it on the inside. Anyway, we have our new mobile command vehicle. It is a great big vehicle. It's a 40-foot Freightliner chassis with the custom box on it. You can see the 40-foot mast on the back of it. Go ahead, Mark. We'll use it to give our field commanders for the police and fire department a place to work. Longer term events, larger events, planned events. It will give us a place that we can stay dry, stay warm, stay cool, whichever the case may be. Put our stuff in. If they need to interview people, you can do that in it. It just gives us a place to work. Again, we use it for emergency responses on bigger incidents. It will give us a place to work out of for planned events like our 4th of July celebration out at Dr. Thomas Park. And it gives us an extra backup for our communications folks. If something were to happen, we'd have to bail out of the Public Safety Center. We can dispatch out of it if we have to. We wouldn't have 911, but other than that, we should be able to duplicate about everything else they do in it. The vehicle has 3 sections in it. This is the front area. If you go in the door and turn to your right, you'll see this. And on the left side is 2 workstations. This is the communications area. You can tell because it's got all the gear on it. We'll have better pictures of that here in a minute. On the right-hand side is where our operations folks would work. How many of y'all have taken any of the ICS classes, like ICS 100? Very good. If you plan to do emergency response of any sort, whether it's in this vehicle or anybody else, you need to go online, training.fema.gov, and take at least IS 100, which is Introduction to the Incident Command System, because that's how your police and fire are going to use. So you need to know the terminology, if nothing else. Yeah. You're showing your age there, Michelle. So on the right side is where the operations folks would work. These are the guys, probably the police commander or the fire commander who's actually doing the work and running the thing. Go ahead, Mark. In the back, if you go in the door and turn to your left, and go to the back, we have another 2 workstations, or 2 areas. This would be where the commanders would be. So this would be where the fire chief or the police chief and those types of folks would be. We will probably also use that left side for some technical support. Our GIS guy would probably work back there because the thing that's missing out of this picture is that on that back shelf right here, we now have a 24-inch printer. So we can print out our own maps, print out posters, that sort of thing. On the back wall, you also see a smart board. It also will connect with a monitor in the front or a monitor on the outside. Again, places to work. We have seats, we've got a radio, or 2 radios, 1 for each seat. We've got storage, we've got whiteboards, everything in here that's white you can write on and then erase. We've got storage for files, all sorts of stuff. Okay. It does also have an exterior workstation, so we can flip that lid up. It's got a radio, it's got a PA system, it's got a shelf so we can write, and it's got a monitor as well. Probably we'll add a computer for that so you don't have to control a swipe one from the inside. Go ahead.
Don't forget the awning.
We'll get there. In the middle. So you go in the door, you can turn to your right, you have a workstation area, you turn and go to the back, there's work. But right here, or right in front of you, is a little bit of a galley. That's what you see on the right picture here, this one.
Need a bigger coffee pot.
It's got a coffee pot. Yes, this is the largest one they would give me. It's got a microwave, it's got a refrigerator where we've got 5 gallons of water for the sink. And you notice we do carry an AED. And, of course, if you've got coffee and water, what does that mean?
Potty.
You've got to have a potty. It's what you see on the left. That actually is entered from the outside on the driver's side of the vehicle. There is no entry to it from inside where your normal work area is. We did that on purpose. Remember that number one is that way if you're a little bit smelly, that's okay because hopefully that smell will go outside and not into the truck. Where we've had things like that happen before. And probably as important, or more importantly, is if you got a troop that's needing to use the restroom, this way he's not interrupting what's going on inside the truck. So, you know, the normal tendency would be, you know, if it was on an interior, you'd come in, hey Joe, how you doing? Hey, I saw it last week, well, stops a bunch of that. You get in, get out. The restroom, interestingly enough, if you've never been in one of these types of deals, is it has no water. It is an incinerator toilet. The way it works is you put a bowl liner, notice it's got bowl liners up above, and there's all sorts of signs in there that says, put a bowl liner in. Put a bowl liner, do your business, finish up, push a button, it drops the bowl liner down into the bottom, push another button, and it goes shaboom, and burns it. So the waste becomes ash. Haven't really tried it yet, so
I got my hand up again.
And just in case you're tempted to go out and help him with that, the door's locked.
But at least that's what they say.
Interestingly enough, Norman has a unit like this too. They've had one for years. It's not as large as ours, and they have one of these. And of course, the police chief at the time, when he was or talking about his, he goes, "Yeah, that's the electrocution seat." So, okay, go ahead, Mark. The vehicle.
Holy shit.
Hey, that piece of fuse.
The vehicle was funded through a bond issue that was approved by our city voters several years back. You can see that also funded 3 new fire stations and our beautiful public safety center. You can see what the base vehicle cost was. We were fortunate that Homeland Security decided to give us a grant for $50-some thousand to put the radios in it, and State Emergency Management gave us another grant to put the smart board in the back. So yeah, we've got about $630,000 in the vehicle.
Drive careful.
Yes. Oh, trust me, for those of you who don't know, I have an assistant emergency manager named Debbie. And she tries really hard to do everything that I do. And driving the vehicle is one of them. And she's it's not her, okay? And she is one, am I right? You know, she is wonderful on the volunteer side and stuff, but techie, you know, I'm the techie. We intentionally hired somebody that didn't have the same skill set that I had. Yeah, it was kind of fun watching her drive it the first time. And she did great with it. Vehicle was built in Montana by a company who does this for a living. They have built some trailers that have comms gear in them. They're little smaller trailers. We call them the RDTs, the Rapid Deployable Transport or trailers. There's 3 of those in the state. They built a similar unit to ours for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. The 63rd Civil Support Team's got a couple of their vehicles. They do this for a living, and you know, you can see the cabling. This is when they were putting it in, and even as they're installing it, the cabling looks good. And for those of you who've been out in the truck, you saw that I opened the rack up. I did that intentionally so you could see the cabling. If you'd like to see it again, I'll have a picture up here later. So, but anyway, it's built in Montana, and by people who do this for a living. Looks like to me they did an excellent job. We've got all sorts of technology in it. Yeah, go ahead and I'll just show you some of it. This is the rack that's in it. We'll start at the bottom. These are some of the radio heads, or I'm sorry, some of the radio bodies. The heads are in the workstations. This is your RF patch panel. I'll have a better picture of it. I have a server in it, some video stuff, a Raspberry Pi running that display that helps run some of the truck functions. We've got DirecTV in it, although it's not set up yet. I'll get to it one of these days. It's got a cellular router in it, and it has 2 SIM cards in it, one for FirstNet AT&T, one for Verizon. So in theory, when everything's working fine, we have 2 sources of cellular data coming in, which of course increases our bandwidth. If things break, we generally have one or the other. And then at the top is the network. You talked about the RF patch panel. Well, let me start. This is on top of the truck. I'm standing on the ladder in the back, on top of the back of the truck, and you can look down the side, and you see these. Those are all NMO mounts that you can put antennas on. It goes all the way down the right side of the vehicle on top, and when you get to the front, it goes across the front as well. There's 25, I believe, antenna ports on there. They all are wired, and each one of these plates has a letter on it, A, B, C, D, E, and so on.
I'm sorry, did you say 25?
I believe that's correct. It's mid-20s, let me put it that way.
Next question.
They're all lettered, and there is a corresponding letter on this top 2 rows. You can see ABC across. That's what goes to the roof. And then this bottom 2 down here is what is wired from here to each one of the radios. So you can see this says dispatch radio 1, this says comms leader radio 1. And then if you want antenna that's on port U on your comms leader radio, you put a patch between those 2. That's how it works. Again, there's the radio bodies for some of the radios, plus the bottom half of the patch panel. Top half of the rack, again, is networking and video and computer servers. This is inside the rack, right behind what you were looking at a minute ago. And look how clean the cabling is. Again, these people do this for a living, and you can certainly tell it.
I know.
I have yet to have any IT person.
It's clean.
Yeah. That didn't appreciate this. Okay. There's a close-up of one of the commander's workstations. Again, you can see we have one radio up there. The radios we have at all of the operations and commanders are 800 megahertz trunked Motorola radios on the state upwind system, which is what we use for police and fire in our city. Again, the white surfaces are all right on, including the cabinet doors. The rest of the area here that's not white is all carpeted, which means that you go buy a little whiteboard at Office Depot, put some Velcro on the back of it, and slap the whiteboard wherever you want. We have a computer for each place that has a chair, so there's one computer with 2 screens. You can see that they have wired the USB and the audio stuff from the computer, which is on the desk, up to here. We have AC power at every station. The AC power outlets also have USB ports on them, so if we want to charge phones, we can. We have a VoIP telephone system. So there's one of our phones. As long as we have our cellular connection, we have telephones in the truck.
Are you gonna hook them up to Ubiquity?
They're actually on Verizon One Talk. So, yeah, go ahead. Close up of one of the radio heads. Go ahead. So then we go to the communications area, which is front left-hand side. And you might notice that we have more than one radio. So operations and command, we felt our police and fire commanders really, as long as they have a radio, and it's a radio just like in their cars or the fire trucks, they can go in and go, I know what this is, I know how to run it, we don't have to do any education with them. Then you come to the place where either I sit and or a dispatcher sits. We play with radios every day, we know about radios, so we have more of them. At each, the left side of this is dispatcher, the right side is for communications unit leader, that's an ICS position again. And we both have radio just like what the rest of them have, which is the top one, but we also have a second one right below it that is not only the 800 upwind system, but also has VHF, high band, and UHF in it. So if we mutual aid and go to Woodward to support wildfires, or if we go somewhere else in the state that's not on the Oakland system, if they're not on the Oakland system, the rest of the state's pretty much VHF centric. We've got VHF in the truck. I'm getting ready to add an additional VHF radio in the front and one in the back. So when we do go to somewhere, we've got a little more VHF. I didn't say it earlier, but you can see the external speakers kind of hiding below this. Go ahead. Yes, we have amateur radio in our truck.
Yay.
The top radio is a Yaesu FT857. It is wired to a spot on the, actually it has a couple of antenna ports, but the primary one, the HF side of it is on the back top of the truck. It has an ATES 120 antenna, screwdriver type antenna. This radio is legally modified so that we can also do our commercial HF or our government HF on it. Except my ATES antenna only goes down 40 meters, and if you were to be able to see the frequency on there, which washed out, but it's 5140, yeah, it won't go down that far. So we also are able to wire, again, through patch. This has a 40-foot mast on the back of it that has a couple of Wi-Fi antennas on it, cellular antennas, and it has 2 open ports so I can stick a VHF antenna on it if I want, or I can put, I have a terminated folded dipole wire antenna that I can stretch off, use it for the center of it, stretch out, go NVIS if I wish, or whatever else I want to do, which then this would tune up to. The radio below it is an ICOM ID 5100, which is UHF, VHF, 2 meter, 70 centimeter, and D-Star. Yes, Randy, I have D-Star and I do not have DMR in it at this point. I would, honestly, I'll be truthful with you. The reason that I chose those two radios is because that's what I have in my personal stuff. I have an FT857. You've seen my personal one in my Go Kit before. 5100 is what I have in my pickup. I did this intentionally
So
because,
it's just like the one in your vehicle and you don't have to do any training?
I'm sorry, say again?
It's just like the one you have in your vehicle and you didn't have to do any training?
And
Just like the fire chiefs?
that is exactly correct. Don't use these all the time. So therefore, when I do, it's just like my personal gear, which means I don't have to go, how do I do this? The books, by the way, are in the storage cabinet right next to it. Oh, yeah. And I have an online version on the computers, too. The company that built this, I did not provide them with external speakers. That was an error on my part because they did not put external speakers on them. And so the radio body that goes with the head for the 857 is back here behind one of the Oakland radios. The body for this one is behind Oakland radio on this side, which means I can turn them all the way up and still maybe hear them. Got to correct that issue. It's just like building a house. There's things you go, why didn't I do that? So anyway, but we do have Hammond here. We do have now an extra 2 sets of coax on the other side, over on the operations side. So if we want to bring in another radio, we can very easily. So yes, if we've got a DMR mobile, we can do that. If I want to bring in a VHF radio for public safety, I can. If the FBI wants to show up with one of their toys and tools, excuse me, and you know, have a hookup out there, we can do that too. So go ahead. Down below in the comms area, the top radio on the left-hand side is an airband radio. The one on the right-hand side, by the way, I removed the mics just so they aren't in front of the rest of the picture here. The one on the top right is a Kenwood NextEdge 800 megahertz radio, which is what our public works folks use, parks folks and that sort of thing. The Federal Signal SS2000D will set off my tornado sirens. Now, just in case you're inclined to do that while we're out looking at the truck, nice try, it's not wired up yet. It's May, you would think I would have that done by now, but. And then this piece of equipment is a JPS ACU 2000. And what it does is it connects a lot of these radios you've already seen. You can patch them together. Go ahead and I think the next screen's what I want. So, you can see, or maybe not, the blue one here says APX 6500. That's my regular Oakland radio. Next to it's an 8500, that's the tri-bander. The A120 is the airband, the ID 5100, the NextEdge, and in theory the 857, although I don't think it's connected. If I want to patch my 2-meter radio that hits the SCARS repeater and I want to patch that into Oakland, I click onto those icons and it goes whoop and puts them together. Is that a good thing?
Sure.
Probably not. Sure.
Thank you, Jeff. Now, we, when you get to patching like this, yeah, it might work, yeah, it might not work, and yeah, it might cause problems. So that's why we have intentionally limited access to this to a comms unit leader who plays with this kind of stuff. I don't want my fire commanders doing this because they're not radio heads. They squirt water. They're heroes. Serious. Do we have any firemen in the room? Where's my fireman in the room? Because I know there's at least one here. Yeah. Heroes, not geniuses. Sorry.
They play with their hoses.
You're heroes. Come on. What more do you want?
Yeah, but I know, I talk radio,
Yeah.
but you're
Well,
right, most people drive you crazy.
yeah.
We put the wet stuff on the hot stuff.
ONOFF, PTT, beyond that, they're lost.
Yeah.
I love them all.
So Just so you can see it, there's a lot behind what you see. This is for the ID 5100 on the patch. And you can see we can set audio levels and type squelch and audio delays and all sorts of things. So go ahead. And if I click them again, I can have more than one net going. So in this instance, the top row there where you see the blue APX and the Yaesu, they're just acting as radios. In theory, on net one, I have a telephone patch and my tribander Oakwin and my ham rig all connected together. So if something happens on one, it goes over to the other. And in theory, I've got the airband and the X Edge on the other one.
Do you know how much fun I could have with that?
You know how much trouble you could get into that? Yeah.
WX5MOR, use that often.
Yeah. Okay, next one. As I said earlier, we do have VoIP phones at each position. Go ahead. This is the exterior workstation. When you flip the lid up on the outside of the truck, notice we have an Oakland radio for our commanders. We have a PA system with the speaker up above here, so that if we want to gather our troops up around and do a briefing outside the vehicle. The generator for the vehicle is about right here. By the way, it's got a 20 kW Cummins generator on it. But we can use a PA system so we can get over either the crowd noise of what we're doing and or the generator. This right now we're cloning on the monitor, we're cloning the inside display. This particular display, which some of you saw this morning, is our police and fire calls and where they're at for both Moore and Norman. Actually, that picture is just Moore. So we can work from outside the vehicle if we wish. Also on the outside of the vehicle is a flip-up lid that not only has the controls for the mast, but also has inputs to the network. The one thing our vehicle does not have is satellite capability on it. The hardware was $25,000, not to mention the recurring monthly fee for the service. You know, no more than we would use it. I don't think it didn't make sense to spend the money. There is satellite capability on the RDT trailers, which the Highway Patrol here has one. And if we go off to Woodward, if we go to the northwest part of the state, there's one at Woodward. If we go southeast, there's one in Durant. They have satellite, so we take their satellite feed, patch cable right into our network, poof, we're up on satellite. Go ahead. As mentioned earlier, this is a 24-inch paper printer, so we can print off maps, we can print off, we're looking for a missing kid, we can print off posters. If we want to give instructions and put, you know, the instructions for the mass care shelter, we can print those. We have a regular printer too. In theory, it's a fax machine, but it takes an analog phone to run it. We don't have an analog phone in there, so we don't have fax right now. We're working, yeah, we'll see what we do with that. Go ahead. Finally, you've seen a lot of technology there. What do we all know about technology? It'll occasionally break. That's the way it works. These 4 tubes you see, those hold paper maps. So I have a paper copy map of this, my city right on board, right inside the door. That's the door you see right here. Because, you know, we may want to take a paper map, spread it out and do that, and mark on it a little bit, and then hand it to somebody and say, go. By the way, it does have, we have 3 fire extinguishers on board, one up front, one in the middle, one in the back. They are all clean guard, so if we have to use it, it's not, in theory, going to screw up all of our electronics. Go ahead. Again, there's the coffee pot and the microwave and the refrigerator, and we've got a 5-gallon water jug underneath there. There's better picture of the bathroom. Up front, because we do have to drive it somewhere, so we have a tri-bander radio, just like the tri-banders at the dispatcher in COM-L position. So if we're headed somewhere local, we can talk to police and fire, where do you want the vehicle at, which direction do you want it parked, where's the staging area, because, you know, if there's gunshots being fired at Moore High School, do I want to drive this in the middle of it? Probably not.
Kevlar.
No, we have other vehicles for that. So we can run lights and siren if we choose. That's why it's got the Gayland equipment on it. If we go to another part of the state, of course, we have VHF, UHF, and 800. It has direct interoperability channels so that we can talk on the calling channel, let them guide us in, let them figure out what they want us. Oh, that's the end of it. So, yes, Bill.
What power is all this?
We have a 20 kW generator in the back of it that I failed to put a picture up of. It would be back here. We also, there are, all of our DC power comes from the generator to a bank of batteries. It's right in here. You want to talk about some clean wiring? That is amazing. And then it feeds some panels inside.
On that generator system, how long does your fuel supply last you?
We have the vehicle, the generator runs off the truck tanks. There's 110 gallons of diesel. I haven't run it out yet, so I can't tell you how long it'll run because we don't know for sure. But it'll run a long time. Hopefully on the order of a day or more. So I see you can go.
Yeah, a 20 kW generator. I was once taught by an engineer when I was trying to build a system that for every watt of power that goes into the box, we're going to have to remove it so people don't burn out. How much air conditioning does this thing have?
I see 4 of them up there.
You are correct. There are 4 air conditioners on top of that truck. They work pretty well. I haven't really had a chance yet to check that. I will tell you it also has some heaters inside of it. And I know that they work very well because when we did the pre-delivery meetings on the vehicle in Kalispell, Montana in January, when we woke up that morning, their TV up there was going, and it's really cold here in Montana, even by our standards today. The eastern part of the state, it's minus 35, and they had this map up. Fortunately, in Kalispell, it was 4 above. I can tell you that they had the vehicle outside to start with because they wanted to make sure the mast and stuff, or that we saw the mast work. But while they had me inside showing me this and that and the other, and I was standing in front of it, I was like, dang. And it almost caught my pant leg on fire. I happened to be right next to the heater, or one of the heaters. So I can assure you the heaters work, but I'm pretty sure that the air conditioners do too. Is there another question over there?
Yeah, I was just wondering about deployment. How much do you expect to be using it within Moore and then also around the others? What's the kind of pattern of like for you?
He took my question.
We don't have emergencies anymore. They have been banned. So
Famous last word.
So for real emergency operations in Moore, the answer will be 0. No, we'll, it would have to be a large commercial fire, one that we're going to be out on for a long time. It will deploy with our SWAT team. And they have a little vehicle as well. Probably the other thing the back end of that truck is set up for is our hostage negotiation team. The one thing I didn't show you, between the rear and the middle section and between the middle section and front, there are pocket doors that we can pull shut so we can isolate the back, we can isolate the front, which lets them work with some degree of privacy. If our hostage negotiators are working, they probably will shut the radios off in the back because if they're on the phone going, yeah, come right on out, we don't want, the radio blaring, okay, we're making our entry now. Yeah, you don't want to hear that. So We also are going to use it for planned events, and we'll have several of those through the year. The vehicle has already been approved by our city manager to go anywhere in the metro if somebody calls us.
Like this?
Good call.
I can mutual aid Norman, apparently. Yeah, I don't even have to call the city manager. It's my decision, anywhere in the metro. And as long as there's no threat in our city, if somebody calls, we're going. We haven't really figured out our deployment strategy yet. Probably will depend on what it is and how long we think we'll be there. It may be just me taking it. It may be me and an IT guy. It may be me and a fire. We'll see. And that'll be really situationally dependent too. But definitely either I or my partner will go with it because we're the gearheads that run the truck. And at the moment, that's mostly me. We'll ease into the rest of it. Anywhere outside the metro, again, it's pretty much my decision, but I at least need to call the city manager. So yeah, we can take it to Woodward for wildfires, as long as there's not a threat to more. You know, the other night we were when we thought there were tornadoes around. You know, I was kind of thinking about the truck, but yet we still had a threat to more. So, you know, I'm not going to drive the truck in that sort of weather, but we'll have to wait for the weather to get through and then go. So,
You're talking about the issue with the hostage negotiators. Is it any setup? Because I know how crazy it can get in a radio room with 27 speakers going on. Is there any provisions in there for headsets?
each position has the ability to have a headset put on. Now, I don't have all the bases in the truck because honestly, most of them aren't going to use them. You know, I've got one sitting up in my spot right now. I've got another base up in the storage unit for the dispatchers if they choose to wear
There's
one.
capabilities there.
Capability is there, off the primary radio. Ken?
Do you have an external capability for power input in case you pull up next to a power pole when you don't want to run the generator?
Yeah, it's got 50 amp shore power on it. Problem with only being 50 amp shore power is that I can't run all 4 air conditioners.
50 amps only gives you 5,000 watts, so.
But, you know, like now, the generator's running. But, yeah, and honestly, we have a garage building back behind our police station that we built knowing that we would be buying one of these at some point. And we've got 50 amp shore power in it, and I leave it hooked up all the time. There's very, very few times that truck doesn't have something running it. So.
You mentioned Oak Wind several times. Oak Wind's dead and dying, or dying.
I disagree with
dying
that,
and
but
dead.
No, it's not.
Well, okay, let's just say honestly that it's
Just
not being
because the city of
supported.
Norman chose to go off and be
I'm
their
not
own
talking
little
about the
things.
city of Norman. I'm just saying that it's not being supported like it used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know where you got that idea, but yeah, it is.
Out of Tulsa and out of the state. But I was just wondering if you were looking at any other contingencies.
No. The radios are all P25 capable. In fact, they have the P25 side of Oak Wind in them. We'll see how the conversion to the new P25 system here in Norman and the new P25 system in Oklahoma City. We're kind of waiting for them to get up and running and getting their bugs worked out before we start talking to them about putting their P25 stuff in our radios. They're not ready to do that yet, I don't think.
Pretty seamless.
But yeah, we'll, you know, and again, we can go direct on any of it, so.
Since a lot of it might be storm response or anything, do any of the emergency response vehicles, this one or some of the more mobile ones you talked about, have the ability to act as a cell tower or get cellular reception back up in an area if things got knocked down?
No. There are vehicles to that effect. For instance, the AT&T, who is our FirstNet provider in the state, has a SAT Colt here. Well, in the state, let me put it that way. So they can run that out and bring up their service. City of Oklahoma City has a semi that has a tower on it. They can bring their system up, which also has a P25 Oak Wind system on it. The city of Tulsa also has one. In fact, Tulsa's had theirs a long time. Cities had theirs, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years. Again, they have 100-foot towers on semis that can go up. And we exercise this quite regularly. 2 years ago, several years ago, we started doing what we call a little black box rodeo, command post rodeo, whatever you want to call it. It was kind of a show and tell thing, and then it kind of turned into an exercise. And then 2 years ago, there was a multi-state version that we all went up to Quapaw at the Downstream Resort, which the resort's in Oklahoma, the parking lot's in Kansas, and the exit port's in Missouri. And set up the Highway Patrol Command 1 trailer.
Who's that guy?
City County Health took their trailer. There was some equipment there from Missouri. There was a SAT trailer, an RDT type trailer from Kansas City. And they assigned us in groups. The group I went as a communications person. I was assigned on our Highway Patrol Command 1, which is this Highway Patrol semi. And we were paired with a vehicle similar to this from Greene County, Missouri, and the RDT satellite trailer from Kansas City, and given a set of tasks, how do you connect your vehicles to do this? We did the same thing last year here in Oklahoma over at the resort at Shawnee. And at that one, they actually brought over the SAC Colt for FirstNet, and Oklahoma City brought their big trailer. So yeah, we practice with that quite often. This vehicle's not equipped for that. What else?
Once you get on location, how long does it take to set up?
Once I get on location, it's got 3 slide outs. You can see 2 of them here. That's what gives us all of our room. And my gosh, that is just wonderful. It's going to sound like I'm dogging Norman, and I'm not. Norman has a vehicle that they've had for a number of years, but it's built on a forward control chassis, kind of like a tool truck. And theirs doesn't have slide outs. And if somebody's standing here working and somebody needs to get past them, you kind of have to do the one of those numbers to get past them. You don't have that issue in this truck. Again, that's not a dog on Norman's. It's what they had and what we have. So, but back to your question, those slides take 26 seconds to put out, each one of them. So you've got a minute and a half there.
Does it take any longer to set up than a motor home?
I've never set a motorhome up, so I don't know.
Well,
But you get on site, put the leveling legs down because you've got to level it, put the slides out, put the tower up. So generally, if it can be operational, at least on the minimum side, less than 5 minutes. Probably fully operational, about 15. Other questions? So it's out front. You're welcome to come look around it. You're welcome to look in it. then, you know, we'll find some place to do that.
Yeah, just curious.
Well,
Back behind here where the laboratory is.
again, you have to go outside.
But that's good.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, yeah, if me or
Yeah.
dispatcher, you know, we gotta get out and go outside and around and get wet or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
It leads to a more
Somebody-
pleasant atmosphere
Norman's got one just like this, except they're
inside.
inside, or the door's on the inside. Well, I guess they were out on saying somebody didn't use it properly
Oh, gosh.
and stunk the place up, and they said the
Okay.
truck was almost unusable for the rest of the deal. Whereas this one,